Omicron variant has led to immediate travel restrictions from South Africa as well as other African nations.
Joining us now with more insight is Washington Post travel reporter Natalie Compton. Natalie, thanks for talking with us. I know you spoke with a lot of travel experts. It's not only the people who maybe were going to come to the United States, but as we move into the holidays, you've got people who maybe already had plans to go to Africa or even Europe where there aren't restrictions right now, but certainly COVID cases are spiking.
Sure. I think right now, because this is such a new phenomenon, people are really confused about, should I cancel my travel plans? Should I postpone? At this time, both epidemiologists and travel advisors that I've spoken with have kind of said, sit tight. We don't exactly know what's happening yet to have much cause for alarm. But something for travelers to keep in mind is that anybody coming back into the United States must take a coronavirus test. So if we find out that this virus, this mutation is more transmissible and you could get it easier, that could mean your risk of getting it when you're traveling is higher and you wouldn't be allowed to come back within the United States.
Natalie, we should point out that the South Africa Tourism Bureau has said that this travel ban is a knee-jerk reaction. I understand that you interviewed an epidemiologist who said, you know, travel bans aren't necessarily the answer. Why does he think that they might not be effective?
Sure. Also, a lot of people have criticized these travel bans, saying that it really points the finger at somebody who is not necessarily at fault. This mutation did not originate in Southern Africa. It was just detected there because of their incredible science and technology that they have there. So a lot of the people in that region of the world are feeling like we did the right thing by telling you this thing exists. It's not just here. We've detected it in Scotland and Portugal. So we already know it's spreading. By now, the chances of it existing for days or weeks are high. So it feels like we're really pointing the finger at one person. But like with Delta, travel restrictions did not stop that mutation from circling around the world. And experts just say that the travel ban is not really the answer to stopping Omicron.
Natalie, let's talk about potential domestic bans. Right now, certainly we don't have any shutdowns in the U.S., but I know in your research you were finding that other areas are starting to shut down.
Right now, really the only place within the United States where there's much of a restriction on travel is Hawaii. And if you're not vaccinated, you'll have to test to get there. Those rules were starting to change in Hawaii, what was going to be open, their capacity limits as they start to get more tourists for the festive season. But other than that, it seems like a lot of states will continue having things like showing your vaccination card to get into restaurants, as is the case in New York or San Francisco. But I think a lot of places are holding tight on actual bans or reacting to this new variant until we know more.
Right, but in Europe, they're already starting maybe some of the quarantines, and typically we've been following suit with the surges in cases there and then happening here afterwards.
We saw a lot of travelers stranded all over the world once this started to erupt on Friday. People were stuck on airplanes. People were stuck sleeping in rental cars at airports, not able to get on the flights that they thought they were going to get on to go home. So it's really definitely chaotic for people who were trying to get home to Europe. But for travel within the United States and to the U.S., a lot of the travel bans that are being imposed right now are to foreign citizens. They don't apply to U.S. citizens or legal residents. So if you're worried about, oh, I'm traveling abroad and I don't know if I can come back, right now, that's not the case. You should be able to return home. But for people who are interested in traveling to Europe, that's something that you're going to want to watch out for, because as we know, things can change very quickly. Things can change overnight, and you might find out that the flight that you were supposed to take isn't possible any longer because countries changed their restrictions.
Well, vaccines, you know, debate it how you will, but many people feel that that is the only way we're going to get out of this pandemic with all the variants here. What is your reporting about the updated vaccines that would address this latest variant?
Right now, a lot of the health experts are saying that they feel optimistic about our vaccines being able to address this mutation as well. They're not sure how effective it will be or if the booster is really enough. Really, we need more time to be able to test this. And I think that that's part of the travel bans, is trying to bide more time until scientists can run these tests and figure out exactly what we're dealing with and how much our vaccine will come into play.
Well, thanks for doing the homework for us. Washington Post travel correspondent reporter Natalie Compton. Thanks.
Thanks.